Now, before we move on from describing description, there's an important distinction that I need to make, and that is the distinction between item level description and collection level description. Now, this may seem really obvious and quite simple, but it's an important distinction to make. Description of an item means description of a single object, whatever that object is, a book, a video, what have you. Collection level description is description of an entire collection, an aggregation of objects. And that collection may be all the same kind of thing, a collection of books, as in a library. It may be a collection of video content, as this course is a whole list of videos. It could be a collection of different kinds of things. For example, in a museum exhibit is a good example of this because you may potentially have different kinds of artifacts that are all under the umbrella of a single collection in a museum exhibit. So let's look at a couple of simple examples of this. Now, the first example I want to use is this journal First Monday, which is an online journal, entirely online. Now, First Monday, like any journal, has a little bit of description of itself and abstracts of the journal issue, I'm sorry, of the articles themselves. So in the latest issue of First Monday, you've got this article right here, zooming into an Instagram city. It's just what happens to be at the top of the list for this month's issue. This piece right here is the abstract. And I have brought up the page that is that article. I've already brought it up to save you the boredom of waiting for it to load on my computer, right? And here is the abstract for that article. That abstract is item level description. It describes the single item, this article. Now, if we go back to First Monday's main page, what we have here is a little blurb about the journal itself. One of the first openly accessible, etc., etc. Right? As well as the About the Journal page, everything on this page and all of the pages linked to are description about the journal. And you can make the argument that description about the journal is the collection. The journal collects lots of individual articles, so the articles are the items, and the journal is the collection. So the description of the individual item is going to be different than the description of the collection as a whole. Now let's move on to a different example, Europeana, which if you're not familiar with this, you really should be because it's an incredibly cool project. It is a collection of cultural heritage materials, is what it's called. Basically materials out of libraries, museums, archives, etc. from all across Europe. And there are all kinds of really wonderful things that have been digitized under Europeana. But the point is that Europeana has these exhibitions like a museum, except of course in the case of Europeana, these exhibitions can cut across the materials at multiple physical institutions, which is pretty cool. The point is we've got this particular exhibition under Europeana, Leaving Europe, A New Life in America. That's an exhibit, an exhibition in Europeana. And what you've got is description of the exhibition. That is collection level description, right? It describes the scope of this particular Europeana exhibition. And under this exhibition, you have individual items that, like, for example, this photo of a ferry boat, and you get this metadata here, which is a description of this particular image. That is item level metadata that is about an item that is one single item out of many in this larger collection. So, very simple distinction to make: item level versus collection level. Item level description describes a single item. The collection level description describes the entire collection, which gives a sense for the scope of the entire collection, puts individual items in context, maybe helps to explain why this particular item is part of this particular collection. The collection level description will contain an explanation of the scope, but it may also contain information about the institution that hosts the collection, contributors to the collection, etc. So, important distinction to make when we talk about description.